Hi guys, this is Ollie here from iwillteachyoualanguage.com. Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to record a very short video in which I'm going to talk about two conditions for making progress in your language learning. So often, if you just a cursory glance through any blog or YouTube channel about language learning shows you that the most common question by far that people are asking is, what method is best? Should I be using a Pimsleur or Rosetta Stone? Should I be using such and such a book to study? Look, I think there's probably merit in all different methods. There's going to be advantages and disadvantages. Ultimately, none of it matters if you don't create certain important conditions around you for learning. And there are two which I've been thinking about recently that I think are absolutely crucial if you want to be making regular progress. Now these might not apply necessarily to maintaining a language. I don't necessarily follow these for the languages that I'm maintaining, but I do try and follow these closely for languages where I'm actively trying to improve. So what are they? Number one, studying every day. Studying every day. It sounds a little facetious. It sounds rather simple, but in my experience, I'm talking from personal experience. One of the hardest things to do is actually make sure that you are studying every day. We're all busy. We've all got things to do. It's so easy to let things slip. I think there are people who have no trouble in maintaining a routine in doing things that they want to do every day. For me personally, one of my major weaknesses is self-discipline, and I tend to be quite erratic in my thoughts, and I can quite easily kind of go from thing to thing if I'm not careful. So one of the things that I'm really working on doing at the moment is dedicating time every day to the particular language that I'm studying. And it's not just time in that sense. I have a minimum, and it could be different for everybody. 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, doesn't really matter. But the key thing is that consistency, because I think there are a number of points here, but essentially it's a question of momentum, building up momentum. Momentum leads to progress. It's a virtuous circle. So we've got to build up that momentum, and especially if you're studying a language which is very different to what you currently know. If you're studying an Asian language, for example, your brain takes time to adapt and to mould to the new language, and then consistency, studying every day, is an absolutely vital part for that. So it's worth reflecting on your study habits and whether you do actually study every day and whether that's consistent. Okay, number one. Number two is the quality of your studies. The quality of what you actually do every day. Now, it sounds rather broad, so let's try and pin it down a bit. I'm reminded of when I was at music college, and there's a saying amongst musicians that you can do the same amount of work in 5 minutes as someone else might do in 3 hours, depending on how effectively you practice. The same is true for language learning. It's absolutely vital to be thinking about the quality of what you're spending your time on every day, because it's there that the difference in your progress, your progress will ultimately live or die by the quality of what you do every day. So the next question is, well, what should you be doing every day? And I'm not going to get into that because that's obviously opening a huge can of worms. It might be helpful to think a little bit about what you probably shouldn't be doing every day, because if you're anything like me, half the battle is actually avoiding bad habits. So what shouldn't you be doing? Well, you probably shouldn't be flicking from video to video on YouTube. you probably shouldn't be watching things like this. It's a horrible source of procrastination. For all its merits, YouTube and blogs are very dangerous for anyone with a tendency to procrastinate. So you shouldn't be flicking through various channels on YouTube and browsing the web. Number one. Number two, you probably shouldn't be flicking from exercise to exercise, or from book to book, or from CD to website. If you're doing that, I mean, if it's part of an engineered study plan, then fine. I'd say it's probably more than likely to be a symptom of a lack of focus in your studying. So if you do find yourself sitting down and going from thing to thing, it's probably worth taking a step back and thinking, what is this really bringing to the table? What are the benefits of what I'm doing? Okay. And the third thing is, you probably shouldn't be listening to very long CDs, podcasts, TV programs that you don't understand a lot of, or similarly reading books, articles, long texts, the majority of which you don't understand. Now, that's not to say there isn't value in doing that, because there is, and in certain circumstances, depending on your aims, extensive listening can be extremely valuable and a recommended thing to do. But if you are in the kind of process of studying in the early stages of the language, if you're trying to build up your knowledge about the language, if we think that time is money, as it were, then you don't get a lot of bang for your buck by doing that. You will build up a lot of ability slowly. I mean, you'll become attuned to the accent. You might gradually form an awareness of how people express themselves in the language, for example. But that's not really what you need in the early stages. You need to do other things when you're in this kind of intensive early learning stages. So that would be the third thing to avoid. So number one, channel flicking on YouTube or blogs. Number two, flicking from exercise to exercise or book to book. And number three, dealing with listening texts or reading texts which are beyond your level. There are more things. If you recognise any of these in your own habits, it might be worth reflecting on just what they're doing for you. So there we go. Two things: studying every day and making sure that happens, and number two, the quality of your work. That's it. Don't forget to check out the blog at iwillteachyoualanguage.com.